competition is healthy for an industry. I think collaborations are even more powerful. Every time I've worked with the microphone, I just excel, which is how I've gotten to believe that that's my purpose. Some will love you, some will hate you, but how are you feeling inside about what you're doing? Does it give you peace? That's the important thing.
Kalenga, aka KPlus. Are you still using KPlus?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you're the Podfather now.
You know, it's one of those where there's a lot of AKAs in between the name. Eh? Call me Kalenga, aka the Podfather, aka KPlus.
Yeah.
AKA the hardest working man in show business. So,
Yeah. Welcome to the PodHouse, brother.
Thank you very much.
We figured, Kalenga is one of those guys who likes to have conversations.
Yeah, true.
We need to have him on the PodHouse conversations as well. So this is really good for us to have the Podfather at the PodHouse.
Synergies, bro. I always believe in synergies and collaborations.
Exactly.
This industry is only going to grow with collaborations like this. The podcasting industry is growing, and the more people see us as a growing industry or a grown industry or an industry that's serious, the more they take us seriously as well. So that's why I jump at such opportunities.
Sorry, folks, if you heard a small voice talking in the background, is Chivela's phone. He was playing something. I don't know what you're playing. Stop it, Chivela. The last time we had this was at Rock FM, hey?
Yes.
That was like...
Yeah, you called Elton and I to come to Rock FM, yeah.
Like 4 years ago or something? Somewhere there?
The time I came with Elton?
Yeah.
No, it can't be 4 years.
3? 2?
Maximum 2, but
2 years,
no
right?
more than a year.
Yeah.
No less than a year and a half.
2 years ago. We're in 2024 now.
Yes.
How old is the Zed Podcast?
If we count, when did you put up our first episode? November 6th, 2021. So going to what, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So give or take 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
2.5.
How many episodes in?
We're going to 119.
Hardest working man in the game.
119 episodes, yeah.
Nice. As a podfather, looking back from where you started, has your child grown into what you wanted it to be?
Actually grown bigger than to what I expected it was going to be.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know, where the podcast started as a passion project. That's a podcast. It was getting a job offer at one of the biggest radio stations in the country to do the breakfast show. And just as I was about to accept that job, I figured, do I really want to be on radio and waking up for a 6 a.m. shift? I had to get up at 4:30, 5 a.m. every morning. I had done that before, but I don't think I felt like I wasn't ready to do it again. So I figured I still want to be on the mic, but I don't think I want to do radio just now. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the future I'll feel that urge again. But at that point, I felt I want to be on the mic. I want to be entertaining, but I don't think I want to do radio. So let me just get a microphone, get a little mixer, get a camera crew, and start a podcast, and let's see where that goes. And it was more about let's see where that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You started, first episode goes up. On day 1, you get 700 views. Day 2, you're like at 1,500. It's like, people actually watching this. Mm-hmm. Wow. You know what I mean? And I think from there, you start getting feedback. And by the time we got to Tivo's episode, which was episode 2, Mutale Mwanza calls for episode 3. He's like, dude, I've seen what you're doing. Let me help you grow numbers for this. Let's do a bomb-ass episode 3. And people got to know that Zed podcast because of, I think, the push that Mutale Mwanza gave it.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't think it was going to reach the level we're at today. I couldn't have predicted this. We couldn't have predicted this.
Let's rewind a bit.
Right.
Which radio station did you say no to?
The station that called me to do the breakfast show.
Yes.
It was Radio Phoenix.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kids, listen. There's a lesson here. Even the biggest radio station can call you and you can say no and you can birth something great.
It was.
So you don't regret?
No.
Not at all?
No, not at all. No, not that there's anything wrong with Radio Phoenix or...
No.
Completely nothing wrong, but it's just me feeling like I don't think I want to go down that road just at that point.
It's
Maybe
good.
in the future.
It's good to understand where you are. I think it helps with making informed decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah. What space were you in at that time?
I was still in my... I feel I'm an entrepreneur who can stand on his own legs. And I felt maybe there was more of a feeling like if I went to Radio Phoenix, I would be getting back into employment. The one thing that I had escaped 5 years prior, you know what I mean? I got tired of answering to bosses and things like that. And I think getting that call from Radio Phoenix was more like, I'm going to have a boss again. Do I want this life for myself again? I've already, taken myself out of the matrix, and I don't think I want to get back in just yet. Maybe when I go back, it's to do like a syndicated show where it's my production and I'm just putting it up on radio. And yeah, maybe. So the space I was in, very entrepreneurial, very independent. And I felt like I couldn't get back into answering to somebody, waking up at a designated time every day. I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll feel like getting back on radio. One day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long shot though.
And I want you to touch on this just a little bit, because there's peeps watching this now and they'll think, then I can also just say no and start something and it'll pop off quickly. There's a lot of hard work that you had to put in to get to where you are, right?
Yeah. Before the hard work even comes in, you need to understand... I like to believe I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in vibrations. I believe in the law of attraction, the law of action. There are people who quit their jobs because they see people maybe like me and a few other people who quit their jobs and something worked for them and they feel maybe that's the way to go. Just quit your job. And I believe so much in purpose. And every time I've worked, I've done other things before in my life, right? I've sold chickens before, I've sold clothes before, I've done printing before, I've done this and that before. But somehow, every time I've worked with a microphone, I just excel, which is how I've gotten to believe that that's my purpose. Yeah. Any business that involves a microphone or media or whatever, I just excel with very little work. So for anybody feeling they can just quit their job and make it jump off because others like us have done it, I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. Which is why it's nice when you're younger to try as many things as possible while there's little risk.
Yeah.
While your parents are still keeping you, there's no rentals, there's no children to look after, there's no wife to take care of. Take as many risks as possible to find that one thing that you feel is your purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. My best advice to anybody thinking of quitting just now, try as many things as possible first before you jump to the next thing that you feel is going to work.
Glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to your child. Since it has grown into more than you expected.
Right.
What have been your, wow, did we just do that moments? And your, shit, we just didn't do that. Maybe we shouldn't do that again.
Can we start with the shit? A lot went wrong with the Muzokanji episode, which is still our most viewed episode. I think it's going to 150,000 views right now. That's a lot considering it's a podcast in Zambia. You know what I mean? Considering it's a podcast anywhere on this planet right now. Those are big numbers.
Those are big numbers.
150,000 people. Ish, that shit moment with that episode was we bring in Muzukanji, who is like one of the biggest people on social media in Zambia right now. We bring her in, questions prepared, everything, and the episode starts. She's answering, the first few questions, like she's dodging certain questions and things like that. That's like the first 30, 45 minutes of the episode. It's just her dodging the questions or avoiding or answering, questions in a way that's not very giving.
Yeah.
And then after 45 minutes, she opens up and we go back to the earlier questions, And she starts opening up. She even cries on set. She opened up so much and revealed so much. We're done with that episode. And just as we're walking off set, the sound guy is like, guys, from 45 minutes, I don't know what happened. I think somebody stepped on the cable. We have no sound.
When she opened up?
Yes. We have no sound from like the 35 to 45 minute mark up to about an hour and a half. So he says, after 30, 40 minutes is when I realized that we didn't have sound. Then I connected the cable back in. And then we have like the last 20 minutes where it's getting all shitty again. You know what I mean? So all we had from that episode, what people saw were like, you know what? Let's put it up. Let's see what goes. I think the episode was like an hour long when it went up. So all people got was the parts where she was defensive.
Yeah.
and she wasn't answering the questions the way we would have wanted her to answer. And we got attacked terribly. Twitter was on our asses, man. Like, people tore a new asshole in our asses that day. It was an oh shit moment. Like,
wow.
We shouldn't even have put this episode up.
But it's got the most views.
It's got the most views. People love Muizukanji, bruh. So,
what was the lesson there?
I think to be more prepared, and also to check on the sound every so often when you're recording. So nowadays I've got the Rodecaster Pro 2 right next to me, like I'm making sure everything is working as it should.
Yeah.
But the biggest lesson I think was to understand our guests. I don't know what people have heard about our podcasts. Well, they hear, or from the comments that we get, people feel like we attack people a lot on our podcast, but that's not the truth. If you ask any interviewer, any great interviewer on this planet, the problem is not the question. It's how you answer it.
Yeah.
If you don't have a certain question asked, you can tell your interviewer, I'm going to skim past that. But sometimes we get attacked because people try to answer the questions and then they end up looking a certain way and the blame is shifted to us, the interviewers, when the interviewee could have chosen to answer or not to answer, or answer that question in a certain way. You know what I mean? There's people who know how to deflect. I'll give an example of who do I knock on? I watched somebody recently who's very good at deflecting. When the name comes out, I'll let you know. Yeah, so it's not the question. It's the answer, or how you answer the question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The oh wow moment.
Yeah. What were the wow moments?
The wow moment. It should have been plenty, hey?
Pick one. The one that stands out. Did that just happen? Wow. Because I know it has opened up a lot of doors as well.
Let's talk about the door that this opened. We were in a meeting, and we get into a meeting. I bring up the issue of radio advertising in this meeting because I'm also into radio, still doing radio in Nakonde. So in this meeting, when we talk about radio, the numbers, the reach and whatever, and the client, well, not too enthusiastic about that. But the moment we mentioned the podcast, and this meeting was like, people are even pulling their chairs away from, the boardroom table. And we mentioned the podcast and she sits back down. It's like, those are the spaces we're looking for. Tell us more about your podcast. And open the laptop, show them the podcast, the numbers, the picture quality, sound quality. And she says, this looks good. The companies we represent don't want to do radio and TV anymore. These are the sort of platforms they're looking for. So give us a few weeks, let's have a look at this. And they sat down in SA, had a look at the podcast, and they called back and said, Coca-Cola is willing to sponsor your podcast.
Wow.
Like, wow. It was a wow moment because we had approached Coca-Cola Zambia and they told us, Coca-Cola is a family drink. We can't associate our brand with your podcast. It's too uncensored. It's too raw and filtered conversation. And then we go to the same company in SA and they like what they're seeing. They watched, I don't know how many episodes, but they said they watched a lot. It sort of opened our minds to think, you know what, at the end of the day, let's do what we love. Some people will buy, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting.
Yeah.
It opened up our minds to think, you know what? Let's just do what we're doing. Others will buy, others won't. And from there, we've just taken that course and let's just do the podcast the way we've intended to do our podcast. And that for me is a wow moment.
Yeah.
Like Coca-Cola actually watched this. It's a big wow. Yeah. It's a big wow.
I always say this when I'm doing presenter trainings. I always say, there's somebody always watching and there's somebody always listening.
True.
Yeah. Somebody's always watching, somebody's always listening. Just do you.
That's it.
Stick to your plan.
Yeah.
Don't change because I didn't get enough listeners. I didn't get enough calls on the show today. Just
some will love you, some will hate you, but how are you feeling inside about what you're doing? Does it give you peace? That's an important thing.
That's it. The next one is not a trick question.
You're famous for those.
No, this one's not. This one's not. Out of 10, rate the Zed podcast. You can be as biased as you want, or you can be honest. It's your baby.
I love that baby, bro. I'll give it a 10.
Yeah. Yeah?
Talk about biases or nepotism or whatever. I'll give it a 10. I think for me, it gives me all the elements I look for in a podcast.
Yeah.
The sound quality is good. The picture quality is good. The conversations as raw. I mean, it's why our viewership is growing every week. The conversations, people come there and they say, you know what, we didn't know about this person. This person has been interviewed everywhere else, but they never brought this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get that a lot from our guests as well. They're like, you guys, I've been hiding this, but now I feel I can bring it out. And for me, it's what the podcast was started for sentiments like that.
Yeah.
I can speak because this feels like a free platform. Feels like an open platform. I can talk about this and that works for me.
10 out of 10.
10.
Nice.
No, 11 actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good. I think you need to love your work that much.
Yeah, I do. I'll get out of bed any day to do the podcast. Anytime.
Nice.
Call me at 1 a.m. I'll show up in my PJs to do the podcast.
That is why I asked you that, because I wanted to know how much you love your baby.
Wow.
Let's talk about the whole the space in general in Zed. I'm passionate about the space, and I really want us to have an industry. Do you think we have one? Media, entertainment industry.
No. What does industry call for? There needs to be, first of all, organized players. There needs to be order. Right now, everybody's trying to be everything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about just the music industry in Nigeria to start with. No, let's talk about the best, most organized one in Africa, South Africa.
South Africa, yeah.
Yeah. Artists are able to, like if I called 3 or 4 artists in South Africa right now, guaranteed I'm going to get a rate that's similar.
Yeah.
Because there's order.
Yeah.
Every artist who's got a song in the industry, on the market, gets their royalties and whatever. We're not getting that in this country because there's just no order, there's no organization, there's no industry. You know what I mean? Anybody can charge whatever they want. Anybody can release whenever they want. Anybody can have gigs whatever time they want. There's going to be 4 or 5 festivals at
the same time. Same festival.
Same festival in 5 different places at the same time.
It's a food market. It's a food fest.
Exactly. We need to move to a place where we see this as work. We're professionals in this industry.
Yeah.
Guys, this is work.
We
need to take this seriously. We can produce work that can feed our families for the rest of our lives. But people just jump into a studio, no manager, no proper producer, no proper this, there's no proper legal framework for the industry. We don't have an industry, to be honest. Everybody's doing what they want, when they want, however they want.
How do we get to having one?
That's the thing, especially where everybody wants to be seen as a king, as a boss, as a
trendsetter.
Everybody wants to be worshipped and praised. So how then do you have an industry where you have a structure?
Yeah.
We've had enough seminars discussing this thing, man. Like, we've seen industries like the radio industry, and I need to give shout out to people like Chilulemba and a few others for making the Radio Summit possible. We need to start having more of such conversations. And of course, proactivity after those conversations.
We need action.
Exactly. We need to be very proactive. We need to be very active. And we've spoken a lot. We've chatted enough. We've had too many seminars about... Look at the National Arts Council, Zambia Association of Musicians.
Yeah.
All the time, we're just speaking about the same things, year in, year out. How do we get to where we have an industry? Chuma, somebody needs to be... And when I say somebody, maybe it could be me. Somebody needs to have the right conversations with people in the right places. We thought having people like Pilato in that office would help this industry in a way. We're still in the same place. We need... Look at how... what's the best example I can give? Nigeria. Zimbabwe is on the right track as well. We've seen the tourism industry partnering with the music industry to make music work as part of tourism.
Yeah.
Guys, our country has, yes, the safaris, they have this and they have that, but we also have this music. You know what I mean? And
is it our fault? Us guys in the industry?
are we going to blame the government?
I really don't like talking about Boma because they haven't done anything for me.
Yeah.
But what about us? Because if I sit and look at you
Right.
and what you've done with the podcast, I'm like, he's in a position to control stuff. If I look at Costa, what he has done with TV, he's in a position to fix stuff. When I look at Kenny T, I'm like, he's in a position to. When I look at Oscar, he's in a position to do it. So where are we going wrong?
Yeah, it brings us to the same point I brought up earlier where we're saying, I've achieved this. I'm not going to let this guy, control me or tell me what to do. I've achieved this. I'm not going to let this guy. Everyone's working in silos. Have you watched that documentary? I can't remember the title. It's on Netflix. Something to do with Afrobeats and how they exported Afrobeats to the world.
I haven't watched it, but I've seen it.
Oh man, you should see that thing. You should see how organized Nigerians are.
Yeah.
As opposed to competing against each other, Nigerians sat down and said, guys, how are we going to work with each other to grow this industry? And these guys, the Don Jazzies, the Dibanjes or whatever, these guys were in the industry.
Yeah.
These guys could have individually thought to themselves, you know what, why should I push somebody else? I can take myself to America.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with Kanye West. I was signed to good music. Dibanj, Don Jazzy, whoever, the millionaires in the industry could have said, I can do this on my own. But these guys decided to pick one artist to export to America. You see, I think it's in episode 6 or 7, where they all agreed to say, Wizkid is going to be that guy.
Let's use him.
We're going to send Wizkid to America. We'll buy him a house. We'll buy him a car. We're going to put him on a stipend. We're going to make sure we get the biggest features in America. He's going to feature on a song with Beyonce. He's going to do what? He's going to do this and this and this and this. Next thing the guy is selling out. That boy was used to pave way for everybody else. And look at how Afrobeats has grown in America now.
Yeah.
Those guys can fill up whatever venue. Look at Burna Boy filling up a Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, only a few artists in the world can fill up the O2 arena.
Exactly.
Africans are playing there like it's their backyard.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But then it all stems from one country, Nigeria, working together.
Yeah.
That's difficult in this country. You know what I mean? Collaboration is very difficult in this country. And until we get to that point, I think we're going to remain jokers as an industry.
You've been given the power. I'm still on this question. You've been given the power to run in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
What three key things would you get rid of? I know there's a lot. I just want you to pick 3.
So basically asking me what mediocre stuff I've seen in the industry.
You said it, not me. You said it.
What 3 things would I change given the power? That's a hard one, eh? I think it would be nice to highlight, first of all, I think the most influential part, or should I say the loudest part of the entertainment industry is the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start from there and just reiterate one point, especially to musicians. Management is very important. I'd love to change that to start with. A lot of people feeling they can do it themselves because they've got following on social media. I've got my fans and that's it. I don't need anybody else. I think it takes a very special mind to break into an industry the way Drake did with no label and things like that. But that happens. Such happens once in a while. But such instances are few and far between.
But if you look at Drake, he started under a label.
Well,
so he was learning that whole time until he could now say, I can do it on my own.
Yeah, no, actually, you do have a point there. So which still taps into my point of management.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes.
And then again, the other thing I would change is, so that's from the artist point of view.
Mm-hmm. The music.
The music, have some management to handle your affairs. Also, I've seen quite all right. Social media is a big tool that you can use to communicate to your fans, but there's a lot of mediocrity in how people are communicating with their fans on social media.
Yeah.
If you could have a management handling your social media, somebody that's professional and has experience in these things, I think we'd go further than we are, farther than we are right now.
I always tell artists, I've managed one of the biggest African artists before, Ice Prince. And
you managed Ice Prince?
Yeah.
This guy.
So Ice would just say, I'm just here to create the product.
Manage the brand around me.
You guys handle this. You tell me what I need to do. Ice would record a song, send it to us at 3 a.m. and said, listen to this song. Can it break in South Africa? If tell me what I need to do for it to break into the industry. That's why I think you need a team around you as an artist. Because you yourself, you might think, this is the shit. I have a banger. Because Chawam, I'm a studio and you're recording it.
Yeah.
But when you put it out, it doesn't work.
True.
So it's important what you said. Have a team. Very
have
important.
a team. And then my next point, the second thing I would do is speak to that team.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of mediocre management in Zambia. A lot of people are saying, well, there are those who don't have managers. Then there are those who have managers who are just wrong managers for them. You know what I mean?
Don't hire your friend to be your manager.
There's that point as well. For others, it works. For others, it doesn't. But you need to have a management team that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They need to have maybe a bit more experience than you or a bit more brains than you to be able to push. I mean, look at how big Ice Prince became because of the management he had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those songs could have just been songs if there was no management around. There's a lot of, especially in the past 4 or 5 years, labels that came up and just
did their thing.
Dished money out, but not really managing the artist.
What a waste of money.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we need proper artist management as well because, I mean, there's a lot of artists, and I keep talking about royalties in this country and how artists are not really raking in. There's a few artists who are actually getting money from Zamcorps.
Yeah.
That I can count probably on one hand that I know get money from Zamcorps. You know, there's no proper
structure.
That's my third point. Royalty structure. I would love to change that, man.
Yeah.
Because people need to start getting money from their art. There's a lot of intellectual property put into your work, man. You need to get paid for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would you keep?
In the industry right now? Look at this guy with the tough questions, eh? What would I keep?
Because you are one of the few, and I think you have opened a lot of people's minds that this actually works. This system works. You know, this industry works. So you're teaching us right now. What is wrong? What would you keep? What is working right now?
What is working right now is how people have sort of discovered that even though I spoke about management, that could not be working. But what's working again for the whole industry is people also discovering that they can make it on their own without record labels, without... I know it sounds a bit contradictory after saying we need order, but while that's happening, there's also the fact that there's a lot of creativity happening. I had a conversation with, and I keep talking about this because I was quite intrigued with the issue that Shefi brought up recently. He was talking about the next big celebrities are not going to be musicians anymore. It's going to be the influencers from social media. And he gave an example of a year or two ago, a musician could enter a club and people would go nuts. Nowadays, it's that influencer with just a phone enters the building and people go nuts. Everybody wants to take photos with this person and whatever. I would love to keep the creativity flowing. It's shown us that humans can't be boxed. The human mind cannot be boxed in any cage, any box. And platforms like YouTube have given us opportunities to make money and explore and put out whatever, whenever. You know what I mean? Yeah. But even after you've achieved that, please get management. Yeah.
You still need management.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's just that aspect I'm loving about where the world is today.
Yeah.
You're able to just be your own person, create your own thing. And I'd love to see more of that, eh?
Yeah.
More.
Because we are, I think what I think you're trying to say is we're actually very creative as Zambians.
Extremely.
We are. We've just never been given a platform, but now we have these platforms.
Yeah.
So let's explore.
Exactly.
What would you add? What would you introduce?
To the whole industry. Mm-hmm. That's a big one, eh? While competition is healthy for an industry, I think collaborations are even more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are working too much in silos. Yes, featuring an artist, a fellow artist on my song, that's collaboration quite all right. But we need to have those collaborations going even further than just me featuring on your song. We need to start seeing us, like you spoke about growing or what an industry is. I think we need to start thinking of ourselves as an industry already. Let's work together, guys. Let's grow the industry. How are we going to push all of us outside there? Yeah. Call Sampa the Great. Find out more. But then you find people are like, if I talk to that person, she's probably going to think of this about me or that.
Yeah.
You know, so let me just do my own thing and let me grow my own thing. But I don't think it's helping anyone. Yeah. Collaborations is what I would encourage more in this industry.
I'm glad you keep bringing that up because we do need collabs. We do need collaborations. Okay, let's go to radio. I'm glad you mentioned you still have your radio station. It was the first in Nakonde, right?
It was the first, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think radio is still a business to get into?
I wouldn't encourage anyone to get into radio right now, eh?
Yeah.
I've had interesting meetings with the biggest radio station owners in the country right now. And everybody's saying, look, our revenues are
going down
every year. You know what I mean? And the biggest competition we have is not the next radio station. You find a big ass radio station competing with an individual, Mutale Mwanza.
Yeah.
For the same client. Mm-hmm. And she gets it because she has social media numbers. And I think that's where companies want to be right now. And the individuals are making more money than radio stations. They don't have employees to pay, radio presenters, accountants, and whatever. All the money is theirs. There's no tax because this person get paid cash on the table, and that's it. So it's really a business to get into right now. I wouldn't advise anybody to get into radio right now. Like a brand new radio station, I wouldn't advise it. I would totally go against it because, first of all, you're going to get a bad frequency. You want to be below 90 FM as much as possible. It takes an exceptional radio station to really get listenership if you're above 90 FM in this country. I wouldn't.
Do you think the government needs to revoke a few licenses? Because there's too many out there?
Yeah, there's too many. There's over 70 radio stations in Lusaka right now. Yeah. How many do you know from the top of your head?
Dude, I only know 3.
The guy in the background there, Liva, is saying 3. You know what I mean? So what's happening to the remaining 67 plus? It's wild, they say. And that's just in Lusaka, by the way.
Yeah, that's
Lusaka. 3 million people. What's the population of Lusaka now?
Isn't it 3, 4? Yeah.
Dude, you get that in one neighborhood in Lagos. You know what I mean? So you've got 70 plus radio stations fighting for the same 4-5 clients to advertise on their radio stations, to broadcast to not even 3 million people in Lusaka. Probably 100,000 are listening to radio right now. You know what I mean? It's
and 80% of you are on that bad frequency.
Exactly. And 100% of you are broadcasting the same programs.
Damn, Kalenga.
Fam.
Okay, thank you.
It is what it is.
Picture.
It is what it is.
We get it. Wow. Let's talk about you as a dad, right? You're a father. You work in media. You work on the online space. There's a lot of attacks on family, especially your kids. How are you protecting family and your kids from trolls? I mean, even just the space in general.
I've made my social media space a very business-centric space for me. I think I've only posted my kids once, and I deleted that post after a week because we had so much fun at home. My kid too was at my place for a bit, and I was introducing them to my kid. My kids were like blank, like, who the hell is this? So we laughed about that. And my kid was like, damn, if these kids don't know me, I'm not working hard enough.
Yeah.
And we're just like, dude, it just goes to show you that your fan base is now...
Bakula.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These kids will be listening to somebody totally different from us. And we laughed about that, and I posted that. My kid and I playing with my kids. But after a week, I was like, I don't want my kids exposed, and I did that. They'll come and post themselves when they grow up. So I protect them in that way. My kids are nowhere on my socials.
Yeah.
And I keep it that way. I like to keep it that way. Keep that part of my life very private.
Do they have smartphones?
They've got tablets, which I was very shocked the other day. They know how to operate fully. And I'm talking about 5-year-olds. Like, she's figured this out and how to edit photos and videos and whatever. I'm like, how did we get to this, man? Like, you're 5. So yeah, they have Samsung. They have some Samsung tablets.
Do you what measures have you put in place to protect them from? Because now there's idiots who are pretending to be kids online. And that's how they're wooing your kids into doing all this rubbish stuff.
I don't know how I can really protect them.
It's a tricky space.
So what we've started doing now, my wife and I, is making sure they're watching whatever in our presence. And when we leave with the tablets. Because then we found on one of these YouTube channels, they were talking about topics that were bordering on homosexuality and a guy being pregnant, these transgenders and whatever. And they're really trying to push that agenda real hard. So I'm trying to figure out how to block certain channels on YouTube, but I can't figure that out just yet. So the measure we've put up right now is just monitoring what they watch, and they watch what they're watching in front of us. Yeah.
If they want to get into the business online, they want to start their own, let's say, channel. Would you allow that?
I would. It's the future.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would.
At their age?
At their age, yeah.
Yeah?
I would. And funny, the older one is the quieter one. But when I go through the tablet, I find she's recorded so many videos of, I think, from what she's seeing on YouTube, she's trying to do that thing. And I'm trying to nurture that because, I started pretending to be on radio when I was about her age, 6, 7, you know what I mean? So I want to nurture that. I've noticed she wants to start producing videos. She's got dolls and she's got short scripts in her head. There's a storyline. And I'm watching these videos and I'm like, this actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's some more good morals attached to it. So I'm thinking, I'm doing a good job of being a Bali here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to nurture that. And hopefully we make money out of it. Because one of the biggest YouTubers in the world is that little boy.
Little kid, who sells toys, right?
He sells toys and whatever. He's getting what, $20 million a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind making that money, bro.
Dude, my child, you pay for your own school. You pay
Exactly.
$20 million.
Exactly.
I pay for your own school,
Exactly.
college. So my son, my boys, they listen to my radio show. They're like my biggest fans.
Serious, wow.
They love it so much. Now they do my playlist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, how old are they?
One is 9, one is 7.
Playlist.
And they'll send me songs. They're like, Daddy, play these songs. And when I listen to the songs, I'm like, wow, these are really dope songs. So some of the music I play on radio is my boys doing my playlist. So I told them, when you get to 11, 12,
right,
I'll start paying you for doing my playlist.
I think what you're doing is commendable.
Yeah.
Which is something we rarely see in Africa, where our kids follow our paths. And right now, I think the industry has reached a stage where you can actually make money out of your arts, your artistic mind. You know what I mean? Our friends, Asians, Americans, the British, let's just say Europeans and Americans, whatever. Tiger Woods' son is winning tournaments now.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Dude.
Tiger Woods. We've got friends like Kanye West. The kid is already, North is already doing our own music and whatever social media.
Beyonce had thingy on stage with her. She was touring with mommy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to nurture that because, if I see that it's a passion in her as well, I'm not going to force anybody to be in media. But I've noticed the older one has just picked it up. The younger one is more into music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just guide them through it.
I'll bring the tools home and let's see who picks them up.
Yeah.
Even with employees at work, I do that. I want to see who picks what up. Even when we're starting the radio station, we didn't advertise for jobs.
Is it?
Yes. We started playing the music on radio, and we left the door open. I said, whoever's going to walk through that door is passionate about radio.
Wow.
Because if we advertise, we're going to get people who just want jobs. You know what I mean?
I like that.
So we just opened the door. And 5 years later, I still have that team extremely passionate.
I'm going to use that.
First guy just walked in and said, boss, I'm different stuff on that. Come on, radio, like, because it's mostly Bemba on our radio station. The guy just walked in, I really love radio. The following day, another one walked in that way. And I said, let's wait for 10 guys.
I like that.
And they just kept coming in one by one. And we've got a passionate team. We don't push anyone forward. They all just show up when they have to.
I'm going to use that.
So I do that at home as well. Like I noticed one starts doing this. Let me buy a few lights, a little camera. And they just put on a display. Let's see who picks it up.
Nice.
Then the first one will pick it up. And next thing you find, she's done videos. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's nurture this now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's close off with this. Where do you see the space in the next 10 years? Both new media and traditional.
Tradition is going to be struggling. Or if they get extremely creative and try to bring viewership and listenership back, they'll either be gone or struggling, but radio is going to take a bit of time.
To get there.
No, to die off.
Yeah.
Radio is going to take a bit of time. Radio is still very relevant. TV is a bit of struggle there. The competition is too much with social media. But as for social media, where do I see the space? People are going to be making money. A lot of people are going to be surviving off social media. A lot of Zambians are going to survive off social media as well, because I think our market is growing, our population is growing to a point where these big social networks are going to accept that they can monetize in Zambia as well. I mean, in Zambia right now, YouTubers are not making any money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have yourself registered in the UK or South Africa to make money. So one day it's going to open up in this country as well. And people are going to make serious money off social media. I mean, look at how Facebook has started making money for people in America. TikTok. I just got wind of how much Simon Moore made last month. Mind-blowing figures.
How
just
much did
off
he make?
TikTok.
How much did he make?
I don't think he wants this disclosed, but it was substantial amount. Like he can buy a car off what he made last month.
Really?
Yeah.
Just on TikTok?
On TikTok.
Wow.
So you make your TikTok account a business account. Then whenever you go live, people are making their contributions. They're $1, $1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people are gonna buy into that, and we're gonna have TikTok millionaires. We're gonna have YouTube millionaires very soon in this country. That's why I see it in the next 5 to 10 years.
Are you an influencer or are you influential?
That's a good one, eh? Influential. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Influential. Yeah.
We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.